I have been watching the series Shogun since it started. It's actually really going very good. I really do enjoy it. I think the story is interesting. Characters are interesting. It's an enjoyable series. Ever since the first time I saw that they were going to be doing it, I was really interested to take a look at it, and I am not disappointed in what I have seen. Japan has a lot of rich history, and they're telling a story the story is actually based on actual historical events that happened. So it's taking place, and it's a historical drama series. It does have action and stuff in it. No supernatural, anything like that, but it's just a really nice, well-told story. The characters are interesting, so it's fun. It's good to look at. Or if you take a look here at Rotten Tomatoes, where it has it, the critics have it at 99%, audience score is at 93%, so it's very, very fresh. It's a brief synopsis of it here. Set in Japan in the year 1600, Lord Yoshi Toranaga is fighting for his life as his enemies on the Council of Regents unite against him when a mysterious European ship is found marooned in a nearby fishing village. So yeah, there is a lot of things going on, and like I say, it's based on historical facts, and it's set in 1600 in Japan. It's 1600 in Japan. So, the cast is mostly just there's like some European people they're trying to make advances into Japan, but it's mostly Japan and mostly Japanese people, because like I said, it's based on historical facts. That is what was going on at that time. And that's what was going on at that time. So it makes sense. But of course, it doesn't make sense for the woke weirdos who want everything to be changed and disturbed in a manner to suit what they expect it to be. And because they expect certain things to be and they want certain things to be a certain way, we get articles like this. It's from Level, I don't even look at them, but where are the black people in Shogun? I'm guessing they're not there because because they weren't there. That's it. It's simple common sense. Like I said, it was set in 1600 in Japan. There were no black people in Japan during that time period. But they don't care. They just insist on asking the question why are there no black people in Shogun? Because you must put these things into everything to do this. This is what I keep talking about. When things don't make sense and they act like you should do it. I'm going to go through this whole article. I'm going to read parts of it. But first, I'm going to start off like this. There's a Japanese proverb that says, for a samurai to be brave, he must have a bit of black blood. If that's the case, FX Monster hit Shogun has a lot of scared swordsmen. Wow. How to be an absolute and utter dimwit. Or really and truly to be an absolute dimwit. They go on to talk about how, what's going on in the show itself. The character John Blackthorne is based on an actual person who was in Japan, and the things that he did and all of this stuff. It's actually really, like I said, the story is actually really good. Then they go on. And it wasn't good. Then he wasn't writing the article, go on. I don't, this is what it was at the CF. I asked the question now that I naively didn't ask in 1980, where are the black people? I don't ask out of a desire to see representation when it wasn't historically accurate. I inquire because there were black people in Japan in 1600 and before. Though Japan could teach there is no record of that. No historical record of these things. None. Because for a period of time, Japan had closed off their borders. They weren't allowing anybody in. Only certain European people were getting in so that they could make certain They could do certain things to try and change certain stuff and link with it. But that was like very few. But there were no black people there. None. But no, you want to ask this question as to where what's going on and all of this. I mean, the rest of the article is just really a bunch of they try to talk about what actually happening in the show, and they try to push in the thing about where are the black people and why isn't this happening. The writer tries to say it's not about representation and all that, but cannot offer any actual facts, any actual historical facts to say that there were black people in Japan at that time when there weren't. When there weren't. I mean, if you look at Samurai X, for instance, the whole thing that happened, the bringing the Meiji era and all kind of thing is when you see the United States showed up with the black ships and demanded that Japan open their ports to trading. For a vast period of time, like a couple 100 years, Japan had completely closed off themselves. They were closed off. They were an isolated nation. Completely isolated. Now, one of the things people are trying to wrap this whole thing around when they talk about where the black people in Shogun were and say that, oh, you know, oh, there were black people and all kind of thing, is when it came to this person, Yasuke. Alright? Now, this is the excerpt here, what they have. Yasuke was an African warrior and the employee of Nobunaga, a powerful feudal lord known as the Great Unifier. During Japan's Sengoku period, the first black samurai, he was at Nobunaga's side when the daimyo died. According to popular law, Nobunaga tasked Yasuke with returning his head to his son. Now, that's what they have here, right? But when I did some checking into it, there's a lot of historical controversy as to whether whether Yasuke actually was a samurai or not. A lot of times, they say no. A lot of them do say that, you know, he did exist and all this stuff, but they say that, you know, he might have been a samurai or he might have just been a retainer, all this sort of stuff. No problem. If he was a samurai, no problem with that. I have nothing against that he was a samurai. Great, you could do a series of that and everything, not a problem. So they're trying to say that, okay, Yasuke was a samurai, so then, you know, black people should be in Shogun, this series. That's not how it works. It's a historically accurate series that is done in such a way. There were no black people in Japan at that period in time. But you all want to distort history, to warp it into whatever you want. And then try to turn around and say, well, it was always supposed to be this way because somebody randomly says something and can't back it up. Did Yasuke exist? Yes. Netflix even did an anime for Yasuke the Black Samurai. I couldn't finish watching that. I thought it was terrible. It was really, really terrible. But I mean that doesn't mean that, you know, if they do a good series or something for it, I won't enjoy watching it. Yeah. There are a lot of stories that could be told from all over the world. There are stories in Africa that could be adapted. There are stories in Japan that could be adapted. There are many stories in England, America, all over the world that could be adopted. But they must be done from an actual sensible point of view. If you're doing something that is historically accurate, then you do something that is historically accurate. There were no black people in the time period in Japan that Shogun is set in. There were none. Trying to jump in now and say that, where are the black people in Shogun? They weren't there. So they're supposed to what? Rewrite history to make you feel better? This series is going good. Nobody has a problem with it. Nobody. And I've said this before, people keep asking these ridiculous questions and then they try to only see people actually come with sensible answers. Oh, you're a racist, you're this and that and all the other. It comes back to like Lord of the Rings, the trilogy. Not that god-awful Lord of the Rings are power crap that they did, but Lord of the Rings, the trilogy. There are no black people in Lord of the Rings, and I can tell you, I am certain nobody ever sat in the cinema watching any of those movies and said, were any black people in that? No, because you were just being entertained. You knew where the stories came from, what they were doing, but that was it. But no,
There is this desire to shove everything into, because these people have weaponized tolerance. That's what they have done. They have weaponized it. If there were no black people in Japan in the time period Shogun is set in, there should not be any in the show. If you want to ask this question, that's your business. Somebody even went out of their way to try and make some AI art showing some black samurai with some with a woman in it, and then try to spread that on Twitter. It didn't work. It was shut down badly, and people were shown just how ridiculous these people are. You cannot keep trying to shoehorn your own nonsense into everything. Shogun is a good series. I am watching it. I'm really enjoying it. If you haven't watched it, I would recommend you give it a look. It's actually really good. And just try to ignore these nonsense, because these people are not going to go away without a fight, because they know that they are wrong. They know that they have no relevance, but they just keep wanting to shout nonsense all the time and think everybody's going to pay attention to them if they do it. Sad and stupid. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. I have a different opinion. I'd love to hear it. If you like the video, hit that thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Ring the notification bell to be notified every time I put out a new video. And I shall see you all next time. Take care.